What I'm going to talk about is pretty much what we learned in the last 3 years from over 200 product managers that we worked with. In every of the weeks, we see that people struggle with customer centricity. They don't have enough resources. Prioritization and road mapping is freaking hard, and then they struggle with impact. I try to distill this now for you. We will make this a game, which is called the product management game. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much. So first of all, what I want to say is, when I came in here this morning and like all the people were there or like coming in, it really felt like home, because a lot of you are from the Munich product community, and it's really, really great to see you here. Thank you so much. So, what I'm going to talk about is pretty much what we learned in the last 3 years from over 200 product managers that we worked with. And here's a question for you first. Who in the audience has maybe read some of the book of Marty and really wants to work like he described in the books? Show of hands. Yeah, that's a lot. I hear some moaning in the first row already. So this is Addison. She obviously has also read all the books of Marty, and she also hangs around a lot on LinkedIn, where she is basically consuming all this fancy product management content, and people telling her, wow, we are doing so great, we're doing this and that, and it's working so fine, we're using all these frameworks, and they actually work for us. And sometimes she actually feels a bit like an idiot, because she feels that there is a huge gap between the world she is living in and the world of the others. Actually, sometimes she feels that she is actually doing product management on a completely different planet than the rest of them. So basically putting on a firefighting hat, putting out fires left and right all day, handling stakeholder requests, these kind of things, right? And maybe that sometimes feels a bit like your reality as well. And then we have the other side, basically, what I think John Cutler coined that term, the Instagram world of product management, where everything is great and fancy and people are doing proper product discovery, stakeholders are happy, roadmap is great, so all that thing. But we all know one thing, right? So that world is actually a bit fake, isn't it? I mean, it's not exactly fake news. I'm not doubting that sometimes you do like a great product discovery and it all worked out well. So that's not the point. These things are real, but it's a bit like you're looking in your Instagram feed and you see all your friends are on vacation. They're not really all here, right? They got to work as well. So today, what we want to try is kind of scratch that reality a bit as well, but not in the way that we basically move into this Instagram-y world, but rather that we create a new planet. So basically, there could be fires still. There could also be like kings and queens, stakeholders requesting stuff from you, but there will also be something that you can incorporate actually from that Instagram-y world. So in the last 3 years, as Thomas already mentioned, we kind of worked with these over 200 people, and I try to distill this now for you. And because it's Friday, and I know you are also here to have a bit of fun, we will make this a game, which is called the product management game. So what we need for this is basically a fancy spacey background. Then we need your current planet, then we need the new planet, and then we need a set of levels, obviously. Okay, it's a lot of slides. Bob was worried about his 50. This is like 150. So let's go to the first level. And the first level, I try not to refer to it as a struggle, but the first level is impact. So I don't know about you, but I'm a developer by background, and when I went into product management, the main reason was I wanted to create more impact. I wanted to have more impact on the product. And to be honest, when I got my first job as a product manager, I felt like a freaking king. And I thought, finally, I can change everything. I can do what I want, finally, and my ideas are so much better. Wrong, very wrong. And then I realized, well, that's actually not true. There's Peter from marketing who needs something from me, there's Oscar from operations, and there's, of course, Sandra sales, whose features are always super, super important. So what did I do? I put them on a board. Might look like your board, well, there's obviously tests and peer review and that kind of thing missing. And then I kind of wondered after a while, so like, okay, we just built that for Sandra, but did it actually create anything impact for the customer, for the product, for the business? And while I was still wondering, Sandra already came along with the next feature. Names changed, obviously, right? And then we had to prioritize it up, because, yeah, sales, obviously. And welcome to the feature factory. I mean, I didn't know that term back then, but I was literally just like pushing stuff through my board. And that is what helped me, what really, really helped me. And that is also what is helping a lot of other people, really starting to measure if something works. And I know you have heard it 1,000 times. But once you do that, and you kind of figure out, well, that feature didn't really work, that gives you something. That gives you something that you can use with Sandra. Because it's closing the feedback loop, and that is essentially raising your negotiation power. Because the next time she comes along, you can say, hey, Sandra, why did that feature actually not deliver the value that we expected, right? And then, depending on how nasty you want to be, you can actually say, look, I want to have proof next time before we actually push that down to development, right? You could be nice about it and say, we can work on this together to make this happen. So that is the way I would prefer it. But I mean, at the end of the day, what it really gives you and what it really empowers you, it empowers you and it makes you maybe not like the king, but like maybe a king with a crooked crown again, or a queen. So that's how you unlock the first superpower, really measure and take back, drive impact again. And this is essentially, we are still in the game, no worries. So this is, you get your first batch, the data sort, and that's the way how we level up in this game. We collect batches. So then let's go to the second level. And the second level is customer centricity, or how we sometimes like to call it focus and direction. And this is essentially how people express this. So problem interviews. I can already see people getting like super annoyed. Measuring problem interviews. This topic is literally 1,000 years old. But there's a vast majority of people that don't do it. And I get it. So I basically spent half of my youth in my parents' basement coding stuff. Talking to customers was super, super scary to me. So that's one of the reasons why people don't do it. And I had to overcome that. I'm still some days not like super psyched about it, but you got to do it. And then there's obviously your organization that throws stuff your way. Maybe they don't ask for it. Maybe they make it hard for you. And then there's the stakeholders, because they tell you, well, you talk to 3 or 4 people. That's basically anecdotal evidence. We can't act on that. So there's various reasons, and I get those. And then there's another big chunk, and they are doing interviews with a different focus. So it's maybe about finding out if an interface works. So can the user basically reach the button at the end of the page, these kind of things, or register. And this is also something I used to do a lot. And then there is a part that really understand why people buy. And that's what I'm talking about. That is the kind of interviews I'm actually talking about, finding out why people buy. And there, click, is a reason why Bob was on stage, because this is still a problem, apparently. Because the only person that decides if your product succeeds is who? Your CEO, obviously. No, of course it's the customer. But it sometimes feels differently, doesn't it? You really need to connect with your customers. You need to understand what they want, why they buy. Rewatch Bob's talk. It was fantastic. So unlock that superpower. Do a problem interview. If you have never done it, get feedback from someone who can help you get there. Because when I did it the first time, I sucked at it. I'm still probably not like the best user researcher in the world. I'm for sure not Bob Moesta. But I can, most of the times, kind of get to the why. Sorry for all the references. It's like all right. So then let's continue to the third level, right? So we got the customer voice badge in our bag, and now we come to the big one. It's basically peak of the mountain, stakeholder management. And these comments show it's like very consistent. It's just like people just name it, stakeholder management. It's a bitch. So, so here's the thing. This is what happens a lot, right? Stakeholders come to you, they tell you, hey, please build this for me. And that's essentially like a command and control structure, right? But what we really want, like as product people, what we really want is get to a point where we get to this collaboration on eye level. That is kind of our goal, right? So I don't know who played Mario Party, but there's all these mini games. So we have this here as well in the game. So we basically have a mini game in a minute. But the main reason why this happens is because stakeholders don't trust you. They don't trust that you will drive results for them. Because a lot of the time, you don't really understand why they need what they need. Which is a bit weird, because I just talked to you about like the customer should know, but what about the stakeholders? Why should I care what the stakeholders want? Because they don't trust you. And now let's get to the mini game here. So in order to kind of climb up the stairs to eye level, what you really got to do is connect with your stakeholders. I mean, I can't tell you in that situation how to go with them for coffee, connect over a holiday. There's various things to do with that, but try to connect on a personal level and then really try to find out what their motivation is. Little side story. A friend of mine, CPO of a company, told me like 2 weeks ago, they wanted to introduce an AI feature that would help the customer support to have less tickets. And the head of customer support told him, no, I'm not going to support that. And he's like, why not? And then at some point, he found out that he's actually paid by the number of tickets they close. Ah, now we get it, right? So, and now he has like way more options. You can talk about like how can we use AI to close the tickets faster, all these kind of things. And that's what I mean when I say understand the motivation. And then make sure that you kind of align them on the common goals that you have. And obviously, we already saw that, how to measure them. Be transparent about the progress, because this is also something, like, sometimes I was really bad at it, like basically pushing it to the last minute and then the week before, oh yeah, that will be late by a month. And then if you have to, like, go the extra mile, really go the extra mile, because they're important. Make sure that you deliver results for them and make sure that you are also accountable for them. Because product, as much as we would like that we are responsible for product, it's a team game. It's a team game that the whole company plays, and you need your stakeholders for it. So win their hearts and minds, as Marty puts it. So what I typically do, to unlock that superpower, I map out all my stakeholders, and then I would just start with the most important one. Like, don't worry about the others for a minute. Just start with the important ones and try to prove that you can actually improve that relationship and that that works for you. And then we got the stakeholder trust in the badge. So, level 4. Oh, I love this one. I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough resources. That should be true for 100% of the people in the audience. Is there anybody in the audience that has more than enough resources, aka developers? None? Oh, I had something prepared if I would have seen a hand. So if like someone also like you. Okay, we got to talk in the break then. Yeah, totally caught me off guard. Thank you for that. And so this should be true for 100% of the audience, really. And the truth is, there's always more ideas, more opportunities, more features to pursue than resources, and that's called product management. That's literally our jobs to manage that. And I know what you say, like, my organization is making this very hard for me for multiple reasons, and I have basically all people in my product bubble within the company, they agree. Right? So we they know the issue, right? But there's the thing. While you, in the part of the organization where product is happening, a lot of the other parts of the organizations, they're actually thinking in projects. That's how they think. So you have all your stakeholder kings and queens, and they basically push projects on you. And what happens a lot, and I can't really blame anybody for it, by the way, so just in case you haven't noticed it, it's like we sometimes call this an egg organization. So basically product in the middle, the yellow, and then the rest around. And then what happens a lot, I mean, all these stakeholders, all these kings and queens, they have wonderful ideas how we can improve the product, and they basically push it down your bottleneck, so basically your development capacity. And then what happens a lot is that a lot of PMs, what really happens a lot, and again, I don't blame anybody for it, the organization puts their mindset on you. So the project mindset. And then what you do is essentially you just take this all in, put it in a logical order through prioritization, and be done with it. And then you are not really doing product management, but in fact you are doing project management. And again, yes, it's also the organization that is kind of pushing you to do this. So let's talk about ideas and basically if they are good or not. So probably not all of these ideas are great. And you know already where I'm heading with this, but I'm still going to bore you with it for a minute. So the thing is that you burn all this capacity that you already don't have with things that really don't work. But when you really look at this from a product management perspective, then we can use all our skills we already acquired in the game. We have the data sort to measure, we have the customer voice ideally, and then we have basically, hopefully also the stakeholder trust to push it through. Because what we should be doing is look at these things close to figure out, is this like a good idea or a bad idea? Is it a good opportunity, bad opportunity? Is this working or not? And then hopefully, oversimplifying here obviously to make a point, probably you end up only with the good ones. So far, so good. We already know this. This is product discovery. And one thing I really like to do, in order to get started, not making like a big deal out of it, right? I'd say, dear Sandra, can we break down your feature into a smaller version, ideally a version that we don't need engineers for, so that we can start measuring whether it works, and I can share a fancy LinkedIn post about it. Going like, thumbs up, product discovery. So, and that's obviously how product discovery. So the one thing that helped me is trying to break down features. Don't overcomplicate it, just break it down into smaller things. And that's, so now all the badges are full, but we still have a fifth level. And this one is prioritization and road mapping is freaking hard. And that's how people express it. And your roadmap, the truth is, your roadmap is always a reflection of your organization and how you prioritize. And you already have the tools in your bag. You have the data sort, you have the customer voice, you have the stakeholder trust, you have product discovery. And with that, you have actually the tools to make sure that you are building a better roadmap, that you are prioritizing better. Because ideally, all of these, they act as filters. They filter things out, they give you back focus, and then also your roadmap will not look like a Gantt chart with like 50 features on it by various stakeholders. So use that if this is freaking hard. So is this the end of the game then? Well, I just wasted 20 minutes of your life, didn't I? There was nothing new in this talk. I even admit that. There was actually nothing. You know all this. We talked about data, product discovery. I mean, we've been literally talking about this for like 10, 15 years now. But they're still there. People struggle with it every day with all of these. And we see it also in the product masterclass, like in every of the weeks. We see that people struggle with customer centricity. They don't have enough resources. Prioritization and road mapping is freaking hard. And then they struggle with impact. Actually, the only thing, and that's the white spot, delivery doesn't seem to be such a huge issue anymore in most organizations. In some, it's a huge issue, and then you gotta kind of tackle that first. But That's good. That's good. I think that has already changed towards the better. So now the question is, because we're still in the 5th level, so there's typically like an end boss in the product management game and also in all games, right? So are you ready for the end boss? Yay! Okay, this one is really scary. All right, ready? Yeah, good, good. This is it. That's actually not it. It's like I had all these monsters sorted out for the levels, so because I thought like, oh, it's 2024, you gotta have some AI-generated images. But I wanted to show that to you because I found it quite cute. So, all right, so okay, now really. So the end boss here is really you and your organization. And let me start with the organization. A lot of organization thinks in projects, a lot of the center, the product part thinks in products. And frankly, the rest of the organization doesn't care about your product discovery. They really also don't care whether you measure or not most of the times. They don't care if you talk to customers. But what they care about is if you are actually able to deliver value. First of all for them, but you can also connect that with the customer. And this is the job here. And this is not an individual contributor job per se, but it's rather a product leader job to basically take the organization on a journey where they understand that all the fancy stuff that we do, like, oh, talking to the customer, oh, how nice, is basically just to help the organization. And when you show that, and when you really show that value, they will also follow at some point. I know this is hard, so I'm not saying this is easy, but this is typically the way how you do it. And then let's talk about you. The thing about all this, we all read about this, right? And still in a lot of organizations, it's not working. And I hear a lot of people complaining, my organization is not letting me do this. And that's it. And I think that's us doing it a little too easy for ourselves. Because we can do something. Nobody prevents us from measuring in most organizations. Nobody, except your full calendar maybe, prevents you from talking to customers. You can start building stakeholder trust tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but like Monday. And product discovery, if you do it small, I mean, no one will care. And when you then start showing the value of it, they will follow. If they won't, well, so be it. Then in 1 or 2 years, you will find an organization that values what the work that you put into acquiring and extending those skills. So all I'm saying is make them work for you. Don't only read. I mean, it's great to read, it's great to go to conferences, but do something. Do something on Monday. Do something on Monday to improve that for yourself. Even if it's just like the first little step. And that's essentially how we reach that new, fancier planet. And if you really want to get started on Monday, I got you covered. You can play the product management game here. So I'm going to be honest, it's not a video game, right? But oh, that would have been awesome. So if anybody wants to make a video game of that, like please, let's talk about this. I would love to play that. But it's rather like a set of challenges with guidance. How to get started. So thank you so much for listening to me. I know like one of my favorite things is that the product community is very kind, although I have literally talked about nothing new in the last 25 minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. So I have here a microphone which I can throw pretty far. If I can see somebody with a question, you will get it, the microphone. Where is the question? No question. They are all afraid of me throwing something, right? No questions? No questions. There, Millie.
how do you go about prioritizing your own time to make sure that you're doing these things that can demonstrate the value of speaking to customers and creating mini proof of concepts?
Yeah, that is definitely a tough one. But the question is, I mean, if you typically look into calendars, I think you got to assess which meetings you really have to go to. And I know like the answer is always you have to go to every meeting and you have to absolutely do this and that and something, but you gotta cut stuff out. I can't tell you what it is for you specifically, but the big question, there is some meetings that you have to attend. There's no way around it. If you have basically a weekly or you have to, I don't know, sit down with your developers, but really try to think about how you maybe can also delegate some of these meetings. Maybe also like one of the tech leads can go, maybe some of the designers can go, maybe kind of try to share that responsibility, or just look at it with a red pen and see what can go. I don't know if that was in particular helpful, but it's, yeah, okay, oh, you're very kind.
So here's a question online. Any tips for product team members who want to develop in a product-led role?
Into a product role? What was it? Sorry, I didn't get
into a product lead role, sorry.
Oh, in the product lead role, yeah. I mean, I think one of the things about jobs, and it's for me, I mean, I started as a developer, right? And what I did very soon was that I was very close to product, and I started to take over tasks for product management. And I think one of the best advices I ever gotten, and that's how I would respond, is try to talk to your boss if you can do something for them, whether you can help with any of the work that is on their plates, so that you can learn what they're actually doing all day. And also make sure that you put yourself out there, like mention that you want to get into that role, because if nobody knows, like, I mean, how can anybody help you to get there? And I think, so these are the two things that I did on basically switching from development to product and from product to product leadership. That is essentially the things that I did, and that's probably what I can say.
So I think we have a question here in the room.
Hi. One thing you mentioned is breaking an idea down to the point that it's not needed to build something with an engineer. Most of the ideas I get are like, let's build an integration for XYZ app, which is all in all technical. Like, do you have like some examples of how you broke things down in the past?
I mean, especially with technical integrations, there's two things with it. There usually it takes a long time to develop them, and if something takes a long time and you can't really do it like as half, like not most of the times you can't do it like half. Maybe you can do like a tinier version of it, but most of the times you just can't do it half. And I think, I mean, one of the tools we talked about, like, you got to find out if your customer actually needs it or not. And I mean, also a customer interview is a way of, in big quotations, building something without building it, right? So the question is, like, if that feature request comes in, is there basically 20 customers lined up that basically come because of that feature, or is it just, oh yeah, we saw that with our competitor and we should absolutely do that too, right?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Please give him a applause.
Thank you so much.